Jungkook's love letter fell in the locker room. Jimin read it with wet eyes and a trembling heart. No, this can't be real. Jimin's fingers shook violently as he held the crumpled, perfume-stained paper in his palm, its edges damp with sweat, some from his skin, some from tears. The fluorescent lights above flickered, casting cold shadows over the empty locker room. The scent of pine-scented disinfectant clashed with the warm, lingering trace of cologne on the letter. Jungkook's cologne. He would know it anywhere. The letter had slipped from between the cracks of locker 72, a locker everyone knew belonged to Jungkook, though he never locked it. Jimin hadn't meant to find it. He was only there to grab his forgotten jacket after practice. But fate, or something crueler, had other plans. There was no greeting, no name, just words poured out like blood from an open wound, desperate, raw, and terrifying in their honesty. The handwriting was unmistakable, clean, measured, but at moments trembled as if the writer had cried while penning it. I tried to stop feeling this way. I tried to kill it with silence, with distance, with pretending. But I can't lie anymore. I see you smile and it ruins me. You ruin me every damn time. Jimin's throat constricted. The words scorched his chest, louder than any stadium roar, clearer than any melody. He staggered back into the bench behind him, knees hitting the wood hard. His breath came in uneven gasps, eyes skimming over the rest of the confession as if each sentence might detonate. If you ever feel even a flicker of what I feel, just once, I'd tear down every wall I've built for you. I'd risk everything, even us, even this. Us. This. His pulse thundered. This wasn't just a love letter. This was a detonator. The locker room had always been their shared liminal space, a place between chaos and calm, where sweat and secrets mingled, where glances were exchanged a beat too long. Where Jungkook had laughed with him, sparred with him, sang with him. Where Jungkook had looked at him. Jimin's mind spiraled. Had he been blind? Or had Jungkook been a master of concealment? There had been moments, now that he thought of it, averted gazes, lingering touches. That time in Osaka, when Jungkook had stood too close under a streetlight and Jimin had felt something electric before brushing it off as nothing. Nothing. God, he had been such a fool. The metal door creaked. The sound sliced through the silence. Panic clawed up Jimin's throat, but he didn't move. He couldn't, not with the letter clenched in his hand like a life raft. Jimin. It was Taehyung, his voice echoing softly, his silhouette framed in the doorway like a ghost. Jimin shoved the letter into his jacket pocket in one desperate motion, but not before Taehyung's eyes narrowed slightly, lingering on the quick movement. You okay? You look like you saw a ghost. Yeah, just tired. His voice betrayed him. It cracked on the last syllable. Taehyung didn't press. He never did. That was the thing about Taehyung. He noticed everything but held it like a secret, like a mirror with no reflection. Jimin waited for the door to close again, for the silence to return. He stared at the locker. 72. His heartbeat was a dull roar in his ears. He wanted to run, to tear out into the rain and scream at the sky, to confront Jungkook, to ask him why he'd written this, why he'd hidden it, why it was never meant to be found. Or maybe it was meant to be found. He remembered Jungkook's eyes that morning during practice. The way he had looked at Jimin after their duet, their breaths synchronized, sweat dripping, hearts pounding in tandem. There had been something there. Jimin had felt it. A tension, a pause too long, a silent question. And now he had an answer. But it was too late. Or was it? Jimin wiped his face with the sleeve of his jacket. His skin still prickled from the letter's touch. The words haunted him, echoing inside his chest like lyrics to a song he didn't know how to sing. He needed time. He needed answers. But most of all, he needed to know if Jungkook was still waiting on the other side of this love letter, or if the moment had already slipped through his fingers like ink on wet paper. Where's my letter, Jimin? The question came like a bullet through glass, sharp and sudden. Jimin froze mid-step in the corridor outside the rehearsal room. The hallway smelled of rosin and damp cement. His heartbeat surged. He didn't need to turn around to recognize that voice, low, controlled, but tinged with something dangerous. Jungkook stood behind him, close enough that Jimin could feel the heat radiating off his skin. Slowly, Jimin turned. Jungkook's eyes weren't like they usually were, bright, teasing, endlessly curious. No, now they were stormy, swirling with panic and fury and something else Jimin couldn't name. What letter? Jimin croaked, his voice barely audible over the pounding in his chest. You know what letter? Jungkook growled, stepping closer. It wasn't there this morning. I checked. And then Taehyung said he saw you in the locker room alone. Don't lie to me. Jimin opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His mind was a cacophony of thoughts. How could Jungkook know so quickly? Why hadn't he burned the damn letter? Why did he keep it in his pocket like it was something sacred? It wasn't meant for anyone's eyes. Not even yours, Jungkook spat, running a hand through his hair, disheveling it further. His voice cracked on the last word. You dropped it, Jimin's voice trembled. You dropped it and I didn't mean to read it, I swear. Jungkook laughed bitterly. Didn't mean to. You memorized it, didn't you? Every pathetic word. It wasn't pathetic, Jimin snapped, louder than he intended. It was raw, honest, beautiful. That silenced Jungkook. And then quietly, almost broken. Don't say that. The tension between them thickened, unbearable. Somewhere in the building, someone was rehearsing on a piano slow, deliberate chords that seemed to mimic the weight of the moment. You think I don't know what it means to keep feelings locked up, Jimin said, stepping closer now. Do you have any idea how many nights I've stayed awake wondering why your eyes linger on me 1 second too long? Why your hand would almost reach for mine, only to pull away at the last second? I was trying to protect you, Jungkook whispered, his voice hoarse. From what? From me, he said. From this thing, this wreckage inside me. You wrote about love, not wreckage. You don't know what love does to me, Jungkook shouted, finally snapping. It ruins me. I can't breathe around you. I can't think. I can't even sing properly when you're next to me because my whole body is screaming to touch you. Then touch me, Jimin interrupted, chest heaving. The silence that followed was deafening. Jungkook looked at him as if Jimin had just shattered the last wall he had left. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Jungkook stepped forward, hesitated, and brushed his fingers against Jimin's cheek. But it wasn't tender. It was desperate. Their lips collided like thunder, frantic, searching, fueled by years of denial. Jimin's back hit the wall. Jungkook's hands were in his hair, pulling, trembling. It wasn't gentle. It was years of unsaid words turned to fire. And just as suddenly as it started, Jungkook pulled away, breathless, wide-eyed. No, he said, stepping back. No, this is wrong. Jimin looked at him, stunned. Why? Because it'll destroy everything we've built, Jungkook muttered. The group, our friendship, our careers. You think the world will accept this? You think they'll let me love you in peace? We've been hiding behind fans and fame and fake smiles for so long. We don't even know what peace is, Jimin whispered. But I'd rather be destroyed by truth than live in safety with a lie. Jungkook flinched, as if the words slapped him. You don't mean that. I do, Jimin said, but I can't fight alone. Jungkook looked away, eyes glassy. It's not about fighting, it's about surviving, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive losing you. Then don't lose me. The hallway buzzed with sudden voices, footsteps, laughter approaching. Jungkook stiffened. They separated instinctively, the moment gone. The air between them turned cold. Taehyung and Namjoon rounded the corner, talking animatedly. Taehyung glanced at the two, eyes flicking between their flushed faces, their swollen lips, and said nothing. But his gaze lingered. Jimin held Jungkook's eyes for 1 second longer before walking away, heart in ruins. That night, the members sat around the dinner table, laughing over some old variety show clips. Jungkook barely touched his food. Jimin didn't laugh once. Yoongi noticed, Hosok noticed, everyone noticed, but no one said anything. Later, as Jimin lay in bed staring at the ceiling, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Jungkook. I'm sorry, I'm not ready, please don't hate me. Jimin stared at it, tears sliding silently down his face. He replied only 2 words. I won't. But deep inside, something was already starting to break. I kissed you, Jimin. I kissed you like it meant something, and now you pretend it didn't happen. Jungkook's voice cracked through the rehearsal room like thunder across a still lake. It was just after midnight. The mirrors reflected their fractured silhouettes back at them, 2 shadows tangled in something too dangerous to name. Jimin flinched at the sound, his back turned. His fingers clenched tightly around a towel, damp from training, though he hadn't danced in over an hour. His heartbeat hadn't slowed since Jungkook walked in and locked the door behind him. I'm not pretending anything, Jimin said quietly. You're the one who walked away. I walked away because you looked at me like I was a monster. No, Jimin spun around, eyes wild, voice rising. I looked at you like someone who just tore my world apart with one kiss and ran away before helping pick up the pieces. Jungkook's chest rose and fell. The weight of his guilt hung heavy in the humid air. The room stank of sweat, regret, and something more volatile, longing, maybe, or shame. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, he said. Oh, and I don't. Jimin stepped forward, eyes ablaze. Do you think I haven't lived every damn day under the same spotlight, pretending, hiding, smiling even when my heart's breaking because I can't have what I want? Jungkook swallowed hard. I thought I was protecting you. From what, Jungkook? From yourself? Jungkook opened his mouth, but words failed him. He stared at Jimin, the tension between them crackling like a live wire. There was a bruise on Jimin's forearm, dark and fresh, probably from training, but it felt symbolic, like the love between them had started leaving marks. Jimin saw where Jungkook's eyes landed. Yeah, he said, voice flat. We're all bleeding from somewhere. Jungkook's gaze drifted lower. Jimin's hands were trembling again. It broke him. Don't shake, Taehyung, Jungkook said softly. Not because of me. You think this is fear, Jimin scoffed. It's fury. That caught Jungkook off guard. He took a cautious step forward. At me. At everything, Jimin hissed. At this goddamn world that wants our voices but not our truths. At the fans who claim to love us but would tear us apart if they knew we loved each other. A silence fell between them, long, bitter, aching. I wish I could hate you, Jimin whispered. It would make this easier. But you don't. No, Jimin choked. I don't. Jungkook looked down. When he finally spoke, his voice was hoarse. There's something else you don't know, something I should have told you a long time ago. Jimin's breath caught. What? Jungkook stepped closer, his hand brushing Jimin's wrist. The letter, it wasn't the first. Jimin's stomach flipped. What do you mean? I wrote others, burned them, buried them, hid them in notebooks, some with your name, some without. I even recorded a song once alone. At 3 a.m. I deleted it before anyone heard. I've been loving you in pieces, in shadows, in silences. Every way I could except the one that matters. Jimin's knees buckled, but Jungkook caught him. He collapsed into Jungkook's arms, sobs racking his chest. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to break you. But you did, Jimin wept. You broke me anyway. Jungkook held him tighter. Then let me fix it. Outside the rehearsal room, a phone camera clicked. Hidden behind the partially open door, a trainee, young, scared, and starved for relevance, had caught it all. The whispers, the kiss, the breakdown. Inside, Jungkook and Jimin were still wrapped in each other, unaware of the storm that was already brewing outside those mirrored walls. The next morning, the fandom exploded. Images of the blurry embrace circulated on anonymous forums. Threads speculated. Debates turned vicious. Management issued a cold, calculated statement denying the photo's authenticity. Jungkook was summoned to the CEO's office before sunrise. Jimin wasn't even told. It was assumed he'd understand the silence. When Jungkook returned, he didn't speak. He just stood in the dorm's kitchen, his fists shaking, a red mark blooming on his cheek. What happened? Jimin asked, his voice low. Jungkook looked at him with dead eyes. They told me to pick. Pick what? You or my career. The silence that followed was deafening. Jimin leaned back against the counter, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. And what did you say? Jungkook hesitated. His lips parted, but no words came. Only shame, only silence. I see, Jimin said. That's your answer. It's not that simple, Jungkook pleaded. I need time. No, Jimin snapped. You don't get time anymore. You took my time, Jungkook. Every second I spent waiting, hopping, forgiving, you took it. Now give me something real or get out of my way. Jungkook reached for him, but Jimin stepped back. His eyes, once soft, were now oceans of grief. Don't touch me unless you're ready to fight for me. Then he turned and walked out, leaving Jungkook standing in the ruins of their almost love. Upstairs, Taehyung sat silently on his bed, having heard every word. He picked up his phone and opened the anonymous forum, watching the chaos unfold. Then, without a word, he shut it off and stared at the ceiling, knowing the worst hadn't come yet. Because there were still 6 letters hidden in Jungkook's drawer. And one of them had Jimin's name written in gold. What the hell is this, Jungkook? Namjoon's voice was low, calm, but it carried the chill of a man standing at the edge of eruption. He stood in Jungkook's room, holding the letter. That letter. The one Jimin never saw. The one Jungkook had hidden beneath old lyrics and demo CDs in a drawer he thought no one would ever open. The golden ink of Jimin's name gleamed like betrayal in Namjoon's hands. Jungkook froze mid-motion, a towel still hanging around his neck, sweat dripping from his chin. He'd just returned from solo vocal practice, except there had been no singing, only silence, broken by his own shallow breathing. Where did you get that? Jungkook's voice was sharp, accusatory. Namjoon didn't flinch. Don't ask me questions you already know the answer to. You went through my stuff. I went looking for painkillers, Namjoon said, his tone cutting. What I found was 6 time bombs and 1 confession wrapped in guilt. Jungkook's jaw clenched. That's none of your business. Namjoon stepped forward, his hand gripping the letter so tight the paper wrinkled. It became my business the second you put this group at risk. I didn't leak that photo. But you created the moment. Jungkook's hands balled into fists. So what? I should have never fallen in love. No, Namjoon snapped. You should have never made Jimin feel disposable. The words landed like a slap. Jungkook recoiled. I never. You did, Namjoon said, quieter now. You did, Jungkook, and you know it. You kissed him, you broke him. And now you're standing here. Hiding love letters in drawers like this is some high school drama. Jungkook turned away, unable to hold Namjoon's gaze. I love him, he whispered. Namjoon sighed. Then fight for him, but don't pretend you're the only one bleeding. Jimin, walking around like a ghost. He doesn't even come to practice on time. He barely eats. He laughs at jokes without hearing them. Jungkook shut his eyes. I know. No, Namjoon said, softer now. You don't. Downstairs, Jimin sat alone on the balcony, cigarette trembling between his fingers. He hadn't smoked in 2 years, but tonight felt like a relapse of everything. Love, hope, discipline, identity. The wind whispered against his neck, and for a second, he imagined Jungkook standing behind him again, his breath warm, his presence magnetic and damning. Jimin flicked the cigarette away before taking a drag. The door behind him opened. He didn't turn around. I figured you'd find me, he said. Taehyung stepped out silently, holding a can of beer in each hand. He handed one to Jimin without speaking, then sat beside him, letting the silence stretch. They're all talking about you, Taehyung said after a while. Online, staff, even the stylists are whispering. I know. They think you're reckless. I am. Taehyung looked at him, and in love. Jimin didn't answer. Do you want me to hate him for you? Taehyung asked suddenly. Because I can. I can burn every photo we ever took. I can erase him from our group chat. I can pretend he never existed. Jimin let out a dry laugh. I don't want anyone to hate him, I just wish he had chosen me. Taehyung said nothing for a long time. Then, maybe he still will. Jimin turned, eyes glassy. Hope is a cruel bastard. Taehyung nodded. So is love. Inside the dorm, Jungkook stood over his desk, all 6 letters spread before him like confessions at the altar. The one with Jimin's name shimmered under the desk lamp. He picked it up. He read the first line aloud. You always laugh with your whole body, like you're trying to convince the world that joy still exists. Tears slid down his face. He folded the letter, slid it into his pocket, and walked out of the room without a word to Namjoon. That night, the managers called an emergency meeting. Photos were circulating again, sharper ones this time. Someone had zoomed into the embrace. Someone else had leaked a voice memo of Jungkook whispering Jimin's name during rehearsal. Fans were divided. Some were furious. Others were ecstatic. The group's image was fracturing. In the middle of the chaos, Jimin received a text. Roof, now, please. He hesitated, stared at it for a long time. Then he went. The rooftop was empty when he arrived, moonlight casting silver shadows over the city. He wrapped his arms around himself. It was colder than he expected. Then he heard the door creak. Jungkook stepped out, breath visible in the winter air, letters still in hand. Why here? Jimin asked, voice distant. Because this is where we watched fireworks that night, Jungkook said. The night I realized I was in love with you. Jimin didn't move. Jungkook walked closer, slowly, cautiously, as if afraid Jimin might shatter. I chose wrong before, he said. I let fear speak louder than my heart, but not this time. He held out the letter. Jimin stared at it, unmoving. I wrote your name in gold, Jungkook said, voice trembling. Because I knew, even back then, you were the only one who made me feel whole. Jimin's eyes welled. I don't need promises, he said. I just need you to stop running. I'm done running. Jimin reached out, took the letter and with it Jungkook's hand. They stood in silence as sirens wailed faintly in the distance, and the world below carried on, oblivious. But above it all, 2 hearts beat in sync again, for the first time in too long. You're both suspended. The words fell like a guillotine. Jimin blinked at the manager across the table, disbelief paralyzing him. Beside him, Jungkook didn't flinch, his jaw clenched, eyes forward, the storm behind them already visible in his tense shoulders. You can't be serious, Jimin whispered, his voice sharp. For what? A hug, a private moment. For violating trust, the manager said coldly. For letting personal matters disrupt the group's stability, for becoming a scandal. Jungkook's knuckles turned white. We're not a scandal. That's not what the press thinks. I don't care what the press thinks, Jungkook snapped. I care about the truth. Well, the truth is irrelevant when it bleeds money, the manager said, tossing a printed news article on the table. The headline screamed in bold black letters. Idol love scandal, fans in turmoil over secret romance. Below it, a blurry screenshot of their rooftop moment, their hands, the letter. Jimin felt the ground tilt beneath him. You were followed, the manager continued. Someone's leaking information from inside the dorm. Jungkook narrowed his eyes. You think one of us did it? I don't think, the manager said icily. I know. Jimin looked up slowly. Who? The silence was the answer. Taehyung, Jungkook asked, voice cracking. No, he wouldn't. His login was used to access the security footage. His personal Dropbox account was linked to a fan email that sent the images. We have the metadata. Jimin's heart sank. No, he whispered. There has to be an explanation. There always is, the manager muttered. But the board doesn't care. They want distance. So you're both on temporary suspension. No live appearances, no rehearsals, no social media. Jungkook stood so fast his chair clattered to the floor. You want to bury us? We want to salvage what's left, the manager replied. Be thankful it's just a suspension. Jimin didn't speak. He couldn't. He just stared at the table, eyes fixed on the photograph, remembering how warm Jungkook's hand had felt in his. Now it was cold again. Everything was. They left the office in silence, escorted like prisoners through a back exit. Cameras flashed outside the main doors, reporters shouting questions that sounded like accusations. Back at the dorm, Jimin locked himself in his room. Minutes later, Jungkook knocked once, twice. No answer. Then Taehyung knocked. "Go away," Jimin said through the door. "I need to explain. You should have thought of that before feeding our lives to the wolves." "I didn't mean to," Taehyung said. "It wasn't supposed to go that far." The door flew open. Jimin's eyes were red, raw, his face pale with disbelief. "So it's true." Taehyung didn't deny it. He looked shattered, barely holding himself together. "I didn't leak the rooftop photos, I swear, but I did take the locker room footage." "Why?" Jimin's voice trembled with betrayal. Taehyung's lips parted, but he hesitated. "Because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of you leaving us," Taehyung said, voice breaking. "Of Jungkook choosing you over the group, of the entire thing crumbling. You thought selling our privacy would protect us." "I didn't sell it. I sent it anonymously, thinking it would force management to step in, that they'd handle it quietly. I didn't know they'd drag it into the spotlight. I didn't think." "No," Jimin whispered. "You didn't." The room spun with rage, confusion, and heartbreak. Taehyung reached out, but Jimin stepped back, shaking. "Do you have any idea what you've done to us?" he said. "To me, to him." Taehyung's eyes flooded. "I didn't mean to destroy anything, I just didn't want to be left behind." There it was, the core, the wound. Jimin felt the words like glass under his skin. He couldn't answer. He slammed the door in Taehyung's face and slid down to the floor, fists in his hair, unable to breathe. Across the hall, Jungkook sat on his bed, staring at his phone. A single draft message had been open for an hour. "I would burn it all for you, just say the word." He didn't send it. The group chat had fallen silent. Their world had paused, but outside the chaos continued. Fans began choosing sides. Hashtags trended. Rumors spread like wildfire. Management issued another statement. Jungkook and Jimin were taking time off for mental health. Taehyung went dark online, disappearing into the silence he'd created. Jimin stopped answering calls. Jungkook stopped singing. A week passed. Then, late one night, a single voice message arrived on Jimin's phone. Jungkook's voice, soft and cracked. "I kept the first letter you never saw, the one with your name in gold. I wanted to give it to you when I was ready, but I think I was always too late. I know I hurt you. I know this might be the end. But I want you to know, if I had to do it all over again, even with all the pain, I'd still choose you." Jimin replayed the message 3 times. Then he went to Jungkook's room. He didn't knock, he just opened the door and stepped in. Jungkook looked up from the bed, startled. "I'm not leaving," Jimin said simply. "But you should." "I won't." Jungkook stood, staring at him. "They'll destroy you for this." "Let them try." And this time, when they kissed, it wasn't desperate. It was defiant. It was war. Because now, it wasn't just love they were fighting for. It was each other, against everything. "You're not going on that stage, Jungkook." The dressing room exploded into chaos the moment those words left the executive's mouth. Jungkook stood in full performance gear, mic taped to his cheek, chest heaving beneath his leather jacket. His eyes narrowed, blood roaring in his ears. "I'm already mic'd up," Jungkook growled. "Don't make me rip it off in front of the cameras." "You've been suspended. That hasn't changed." "Then why was I asked to show up?" His voice echoed sharply, drawing the attention of the crew outside the door. "You pulled me into this building like I'm still your golden boy, but now I'm disposable again." "It was a courtesy, Jungkook," the executive said, folding his arms. "An invitation to attend, not perform. I'm not here to sit in the crowd and smile like a good little scandal." "Then maybe you shouldn't have started one." Jimin stepped in from the hallway, breathless, his hair still damp from the makeup room. "What's going on?" "Your boyfriend thinks he's above consequences," the executive snapped. Jimin stepped between them like a shield. "Don't call him that. Don't use that tone. You don't get to weaponize our pain." "Pain," The executive laughed bitterly. You think what you're going through is pain? Look at the stock. Look at the sponsors. Look at our international partners pulling out. Jungkook's fists trembled. So I'm a commodity now, just a walking brand deal. You always were. The room fell deathly quiet. Jimin's eyes blazed. He's not your product. He's everyone's product, the executive said coldly. So are you. That's the price of fame. You wanted millions of people to scream your names. This is what comes with it. No freedom, no private life, and definitely no forbidden love stories. You mean gay love stories, Jungkook hissed. The executive flinched, but didn't deny it. You'd rather lie to the world than let us be who we are. I'd rather you lie to save what's left of your legacy. I'd rather burn it all down, Jungkook whispered. Silence. The executive stormed out without another word. Jimin grabbed Jungkook's arm. You need to breathe. I need to scream. Then do it after the show, Jimin said. Right now, we go out there together. Even if I'm alone on stage, I want you front row. I want to see your eyes. Jungkook stared at him, fire and sadness swirling together in his gaze. They don't deserve your voice tonight. I'm not singing for them. The arena was a different world, dark, cavernous, echoing with thunderous chants that shook the ceiling. A sold-out crowd, fans with glowing signs, oceans of lightsticks raised like torches in the dark. Backstage, Hosok stood by Jimin's side, hand on his shoulder. You sure about this? No, Jimin said, but I have to do it anyway. Namjoon walked in seconds later, nodding once at both of them. He's here, front row. Jimin's heart kicked into high gear. The lights dropped, the crowd erupted. Music swelled. Jimin stepped onto the stage alone. And it was suffocating. The absence of his brothers was everywhere. The empty mics, the unfilled harmonies. His voice trembled on the first line, but he pushed through. The lyrics of the ballad felt different now. Sharper, personal. Every word landed like confession. And then, without warning, the screen behind him flickered. An error, a glitch, and then something else appeared. A video. A shaky, blurry clip. Jungkook. Singing alone in a practice room. The very song Jimin was singing. Recorded in secret, never meant for release. A raw version, just piano and voice. Someone had leaked it. The crowd gasped. And then they fell silent. Jimin turned to the screen, breath stolen. It was the unreleased track Jungkook mentioned in the letter, the one he deleted, except it wasn't deleted. Someone had saved it. And now the whole world was hearing it. Jimin's mic was still on. Play it, he said to the crew. The music shifted. Jimin stepped back from the mic. Let Jungkook's voice rise. Let the world hear it. The lyrics were confession. Every word. If I could hold you in daylight, would you still want the night? If the world burns down around us, would you still reach for me? Jimin looked down to the front row. There Jungkook stood, hood low, eyes locked with his, tears on his cheeks. The crowd didn't cheer. They listened. They felt it. Jimin walked to the edge of the stage, took the mic again, and sang the final line with Jungkook's recorded voice, in perfect harmony. And when it ended, he whispered one sentence into the silence. He wrote that, for me. A hush fell over the crowd like snowfall. Some cried. Some gasped. And then someone, one fan, somewhere stood and clapped. Another followed. Then another. And soon the whole arena was on its feet. The company couldn't stop it. The media couldn't control it. The truth was out, and the world didn't end. Backstage, chaos erupted. The executive was screaming into his phone. The staff tried to cut the feed, but it was too late. Jungkook had already made his way to the back corridor. Jimin ran to him, pushed through the security, and threw his arms around him. Reporters caught it. Fans live-streamed it. But neither of them cared. This time, they weren't kissing in shadows. They were standing in the light. Together. The silence after the storm was unlike anything they had known. For weeks, the world held its breath. The footage from the concert, the duet between Jimin and Jungkook, the confession, the embrace dominated every media outlet. Opinions fractured the fandom like shattered glass. Messages of support flooded in alongside rage, confusion, betrayal, adoration. Brands pulled out. New ones lined up. Old fans left. New ones emerged. Some screamed. Some cried. Some stayed quiet. But through it all, Jungkook and Jimin stood still. Together. They weren't giving interviews. They weren't posting apologies. They weren't crafting statements with PR teams. They let the truth breathe on its own for once, without packaging it for the cameras. Inside the dorm, things shifted. Hoseok brought them food every night without saying a word. Namjoon covered for them in meetings, speaking less like a leader and more like an older brother who understood that some wars weren't meant to be fought with fists, but with presence. Yoongi was the first to laugh again, cracking a joke about how they stole the whole damn stage with a leaked demo and a mic drop hug. Jin, still abroad, sent a voice note. "I'm proud of you both." It's about time someone said screw it to fear. Taehyung hadn't come home in days. Until one rainy evening. The door opened, quietly like a question. Jimin looked up from the couch, blanket wrapped around him, eyes hollow from nights without sleep. Jungkook stood in the hallway, tense, protective. Taehyung stepped inside, soaked from the rain, no umbrella, just silence. "I didn't mean to ruin you," he said. "I only wanted to stop time." No one moved. Then Jimin stood and walked to him, slowly. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just pulled Taehyung into an embrace so tight. The younger man broke into sobs like a dam bursting at last. "You didn't ruin us," Jimin whispered. "You reminded us what matters." "I almost lost you both," Taehyung said through tears. "We were already lost," Jungkook said gently. "You just lit the match that showed us the way." It wasn't forgiveness, not all at once, but it was the beginning. And beginnings were all they ever needed. A month later, they were invited to perform again. No forced interviews, no pre-approved script, just one song, one chance. The company wanted them to perform a fan favorite, something easy, something safe. They declined. Instead, they stepped onto the same stage where it all began, bathed in light, silence hanging thick. Jungkook spoke first. Sometimes, love writes letters we're too scared to send. Jimin followed. Sometimes silence becomes a prison, but we found our voice. Then they sang. Not a track from an album, not a viral hit. But the song. The unreleased one, the one Jungkook had recorded in secret, now finished, now full, now a duet. Jimin's voice carried pain and softness like silk torn at the seams. Jungkook's harmonies wrapped around him like arms that refused to let go. When the final note faded, the crowd didn't scream. They stood in stillness, hearts cracked open, changed. And that was enough. Later, as the city lights blurred past their van windows, Jimin leaned his head on Jungkook's shoulder. "Do you think it'll ever be normal again?" "I hope not," Jungkook whispered, brushing a kiss into his hair. "We were never made for normal." Their fingers intertwined between them, hidden from the world, but no longer from themselves. And somewhere in a drawer Jungkook never opened again, 6 letters still rested. One was burned, one was read, the rest left unopened. Because some truths are better lived than written. And they were done hiding. The love letter had fallen, but it didn't shatter them. It built them. And for the first time in forever, the story didn't end in silence. It began in song.